The internet never stops arguing about guns, triggers, optics, brand loyalty, which logo people swear will matter most when everything goes sideways. But if you strip all that noise away and ask yourself an honest question, it gets very simple, very fast. If you were forced to choose a handgun on a tight budget, something you could actually afford, would it work when you needed it to? Not look good on social media, not impress anyone at the range, just run, feed, fire. And keep doing that year after year without excuses or surprises. That is what this video is about. We are not chasing hype or trends. We are talking about pistols built for real life, the kind that live in nightstands, ride in glove boxes, and get carried every single day by regular people. These are affordable handguns that earned their reputation the hard way, through use, not marketing. And we are starting exactly where most people do, at the bottom of the price ladder, with guns that do not pretend to be anything more than dependable. Starting off with number 15 is the Ruger EC9s, and this pistol earns its place not by excitement, but by restraint. From the very beginning, the EC9s was designed with a single goal in mind: to deliver a dependable 9mm defensive handgun at the lowest realistic cost without sacrificing the fundamentals that actually keep a gun running. Ruger started with the proven LC9S platform and stripped it down to what matters, removing cosmetic extras and non-essential features in favor of a clean, simple striker-fired system. The result is a slim, lightweight handgun with an overall length just under 6 inches, a barrel length a little over 3 inches, and a narrow single-stack frame that disappears easily in a holster. Unloaded weight sits comfortably around 17 ounces. Making it easy to carry all day without fatigue, while still feeling solid enough to control. The slide mass is intentionally light, which makes it easy to rack for shooters with limited hand strength, including new shooters and older users, while the recoil spring balance keeps the cycling reliable with a wide range of ammunition. The feed ramp is wide and smoothly contoured, designed to guide inexpensive practice rounds and basic defensive loads into the chamber without hesitation. And that forgiving geometry is a major part of why the EC9s has such a strong reputation for running without drama. Recoil is snappy, as expected from a thin single-stack pistol, but it is straight back and predictable, allowing shooters to adapt quickly and maintain consistent control. Internally, Ruger applied the same conservative engineering philosophy that defined many of their older service pistols. Springs are not tuned to the edge. Parts are slightly overbuilt for the role, and tolerances allow the gun to continue functioning even when it is not perfectly clean. This is not a platform that demands premium magazines, exotic ammunition, or constant aftermarket upgrades to inspire confidence. You load it, chamber a round, and it behaves the same way every single time, which is exactly what a defensive handgun should do. The trigger is long and deliberate, not refined or competition-focused, but consistent, reinforcing safe handling and predictable operation under stress. The sights are simple and functional, prioritizing visibility over style, and the overall design avoids unnecessary complexity that could introduce failure points over long-term use. Where the Ruger EC9s truly separates itself is value. In the current market, it commonly sells between $250 and $300, placing it firmly within reach of shooters who might otherwise feel locked out of reliable defensive options. Despite the low entry cost, it still carries Ruger's reputation for durability, parts availability, and customer support, which matters when you are buying a gun meant to last. The EC9s is not a pistol for enthusiasts who want to customize every component or chase the latest trend. It is a pistol for people who want peace of mind, a tool that works quietly in the background without asking for attention. It is honest in its purpose, conservative in its design, and dependable in its execution. And when the goal is staying safe on a budget, that kind of honesty is worth more than flash ever could be. Let's roll in with number 14. Stoeger STR-9 is a pistol that tends to reset expectations the moment someone actually spends time with it, because on paper it looks ordinary, but in practice it behaves like a far more serious tool than its price would suggest. Stoeger may not carry the instant name recognition of some larger brands, but being under the same corporate umbrella as Beretta matters. And that influence shows up in the way the STR-9 is engineered and assembled. This is a striker-fired 9mm built around a very traditional, well-understood operating system, with no experimental shortcuts and no unnecessary complexity. Overall dimensions place it squarely in the compact-to-duty crossover category, with an overall length just over 7 inches, a barrel length a little over 4 inches, and a height that allows a full firing grip without feeling bulky. Weight is moderate for a polymer-framed pistol, heavy enough to keep recoil manageable, light enough for daily carry if needed. The slide is robust, with generous mass that contributes to a smooth recoil impulse, and the frame is clearly designed with longevity in mind rather than visual flair. Stoeger intentionally runs the STR-9 with slightly looser tolerances than some trend-driven designs, and that choice pays dividends in reliability. Carbon buildup, dust, and unburned powder have room to exist without binding the action, which is exactly what you want in a defensive handgun that may not be cleaned obsessively after every range trip. The extractor is strong and consistent, the ejector kicks cases clear with authority, and the magazines present rounds at a clean angle that promotes reliable feeding across a wide range of ammunition types. Cheap bulk 9mm, standard pressured defensive loads, and mixed magazines all cycle without drama, which is a critical trait for budget-conscious shooters who train with whatever they can afford. Ergonomically, the STR-9 avoids extremes. The grip angle feels natural in the hand, the texture provides secure traction without tearing up skin, and the controls are intuitive for anyone familiar with modern polymer pistols. The trigger is not refined or competition-focused, but it is consistent from shot to shot, and that consistency builds trust far more effectively than a lighter but unpredictable pull. Recoil is straight back and controllable, aided by the slide mass and balanced recoil spring system, making the pistol forgiving for newer shooters while still capable in experienced hands. In terms of features, the STR-9 does not chase trends like optics cuts or flashy slide work. But that simplicity is part of its appeal. Fewer specialized parts mean fewer things to break, fewer proprietary replacements, and easier long-term ownership. From a practical standpoint, this is a gun designed to be loaded, carried, shot, and trusted without constant second-guessing. Price is where the Stoeger STR-9 truly locks in its relevance. Current market pricing typically falls between $300 and $350, with occasional sales dipping even lower, placing it firmly within reach of everyday buyers. For that money, you are getting a durable, reliable 9mm that prioritizes function over fashion. The Stoeger STR-9 earns its place because it does exactly what a defensive handgun is supposed to do. It works, it keeps working, and it asks very little in return. To get things moving, number 13 is the Walther Creed, and this is one of those pistols that makes a lot more sense the longer you live with it. The Creed was never meant to compete with high-end duty guns or cutting-edge carry pistols. Walther built it for people who wanted something safe, reliable, and easy to run without needing strong hands, deep technical knowledge, or constant upgrades. In a market full of aggressive textures, ultra-light triggers, and complicated controls, the Creed went the opposite direction. Simple, calm, predictable. And for a defensive handgun, those qualities matter more than most people realize. The first thing you notice when handling the Creed is how easy it is to operate. The slide is light and smooth, intentionally tuned so that racking it does not feel like a fight. That alone makes it extremely approachable for new shooters, seniors, or anyone with reduced grip strength. Walther softened the striker system compared to their performance-oriented pistols, which results in a longer, smoother trigger pull. Some shooters dismiss that as boring. In reality, it is a deliberate safety choice that also contributes to reliability. A moderate striker system paired with generous feed geometry creates a gun that ignites primers consistently and feeds a wide range of ammunition without complaint. Mechanically, the Creed follows proven design principles that have been refined for decades. The barrel locks and unlocks smoothly, the feed ramp is broad and polished, and the extractor has plenty of bite. This pistol does not demand premium ammo or obsessive cleaning to stay functional. It runs well with cheap range 9mm and common defensive loads alike. The recoil impulse is soft for its size, partly because the slide mass and spring rates are balanced conservatively. Nothing is pushed to the edge, nothing feels rushed. That conservative tuning is exactly why the Creed has built a quiet reputation for reliability among people who actually shoot their guns instead of just talking about them. The grip is another area where Walther made smart choices. It fits a wide range of hand sizes without forcing the shooter into an aggressive or awkward position. The texture is mild but effective, and the grip angle encourages a natural point of aim. This is not a pistol that fights you during recoil or demands constant grip correction. It settles back on target and behaves the same way every time, which builds confidence quickly. Confidence leads to better shooting, and better shooting reinforces trust in the gun. Where the Walther Creed really earns its spot on this list is value. Street prices typically fall between $300 and $350, which surprises many people when they see the Walther name on the slide. You are getting a pistol from a manufacturer with a long history of service-grade firearms, built with reliability as the priority, at a price that stays firmly in budget territory. It may not dominate headlines or internet debates, but the Creed does something far more important. It shows up, it runs, and it does exactly what a defensive handgun is supposed to do without asking for attention or excuses. Setting the tone early in number 12 brings us to the Glock 43, specifically in its used form, and this is where the idea of value really starts to click for a lot of people. There is no cheaper version of the Glock 43, no budget trim, no simplified model. What you are looking at here is the exact same pistol that has been trusted for years, simply passed along as shooters upgrade to newer micro-compacts. Mechanically, nothing changes. The slide, the barrel, the frame, and the internals are the same proven Glock design. The only difference is that someone else already put the first scratch on it, and that scratch is what pulls the price down into budget territory. The Glock 43 exists for one reason, and it does that job extremely well. It is small, thin, and brutally simple. Fewer parts, fewer controls, fewer opportunities for something to go wrong. Glock built this pistol around the same reliability philosophy that made the brand famous. Loose enough tolerances to keep running when dirty, strong extractor tension to yank cases out no matter what ammo you feed it. And magazines that are almost boring in how consistently they work. This is a 9mm pistol that does not care about internet opinions or shooting trends. It cares about cycling the next round and doing it again. In use, the Glock 43 feels exactly like what it is, a purpose-built carry gun. The recoil is sharper than larger pistols, but it is straight back and predictable. The trigger is the familiar Glock pull, not refined, not impressive, but consistent from shot to shot. Consistency is what matters when you are training under stress or carrying every day. The pistol points naturally, resets cleanly, and behaves the same way whether it is clean or slightly neglected. That predictability is why so many people still trust it even as newer designs flood the market. Buying the Glock 43 used makes sense because of market reality. Many owners carried these guns daily, fired a few hundred rounds, and then moved on to higher capacity options. That means a lot of Glock 43s on the used market show cosmetic wear from holsters, but very little internal wear. Glock pistols are notoriously difficult to shoot loose, especially in 9mm. Springs, barrels, and small parts last a long time, and replacements are cheap and widely available if needed. From a reliability standpoint, a lightly used Glock 43 is barely broken in. Price is what secures its spot on this list. Used examples often land between $350 and $400, sometimes less if you shop patiently. That places it squarely in the reach of buyers who want Glock reliability without paying new Glock prices. It also holds its value better than most budget pistols, which matters if you ever decide to sell or trade later. The Glock 43 earns its position here because it represents one of the safest bets you can make in the defensive handgun world. No gimmicks, no learning curve, just a simple 9mm that has already proven itself and is ready to keep doing so. We start this breakdown with number 11 is the IWI Masada, and this is where the list starts to feel less like budget shopping and more like finding overlooked duty guns hiding in plain sight. The Masada comes from Israel Weapon Industries, a company whose entire identity is built around firearms designed for real-world service use, not range toys or marketing hype. From the beginning, the Masada was engineered as a full-size, no-nonsense 9mm meant to survive harsh environments, inconsistent maintenance, and high round counts. That DNA shows the moment you handle it. The Masada is built around a rigid internal steel chassis embedded inside the polymer frame, a design choice that immediately separates it from cheaper pistols that rely solely on polymer flex. This gives the gun a solid planted feel during recoil and helps maintain long-term durability. The slide is substantial, with enough mass to keep the cycling smooth and controlled, even with hotter ammunition. The recoil impulse is calm and straight back, not snappy, which makes the gun forgiving for shooters of different experience levels. That forgiveness is part of reliability. A gun that stays controllable is easier to run correctly under stress. Mechanically, the Masada sticks to proven principles. The feed ramp is wide and polished, the extractor is strong and consistent, and the ejection pattern is decisive. This pistol was designed to run dirty and keep running. It does not demand perfect lubrication or premium ammunition to function. Cheap range 9mm, bulk training ammo, standard defensive loads, the Masada eats them all without drama. The trigger is serviceable and predictable, not competition light, but clean enough to shoot accurately and heavy enough to inspire confidence in a defensive role. One of the Masada's biggest strengths is how modern it feels without becoming complicated. The grip angle is natural, the texture is aggressive enough to stay locked in the hand without chewing up skin, and the controls are ambidextrous, which matters more than many people admit. Left-handed shooters are not treated as an afterthought here. The slide serrations are deep and functional, making the gun easy to rack even with wet or gloved hands. Everything about the design suggests it was meant to be used hard rather than admired. What really earns the Masada its place on this list is value. In today's market, it is very common to find Masadas priced between $350 and $400. For that money, you are getting a true duty-grade pistol from a manufacturer with a combat-focused reputation, complete with modern features that many competitors charge far more for. It is often overlooked simply because it does not have the brand hype of Glock or Smith & Wesson, but reliability does not care about popularity. The IWI Masada belongs here because it offers something rare in the budget space: confidence without compromise. It feels like a pistol that was designed to protect lives first and win sales later. For shooters who want a full-size 9mm that runs clean, runs dirty, and keeps doing its job without excuses, the Masada is one of the most sensible choices under $400. Breaking into the list at number 10 brings us to the Taurus G3 Series, and this entry represents one of the most dramatic turnarounds in the modern handgun market. There was a time when mentioning Taurus in a conversation about reliability would earn you skeptical looks. That history matters because it makes what the G3 has accomplished even more significant. This pistol exists because Taurus was forced to rebuild its reputation from the ground up, and the G3 is the product of that pressure. It is not a legacy design riding on brand loyalty. It is a pistol that had to earn trust the hard way. The G3 is a striker-fired 9mm built around a very familiar mechanical foundation, but executed with a focus on forgiveness. The locking system follows proven Browning-style geometry, and the tolerances are deliberately generous where reliability depends on them. Dirt, carbon, and unburned powder have room to exist without stopping the gun. At the same time, the barrel locks up consistently enough to deliver practical accuracy that exceeds what most shooters expect at this price point. The result is a pistol that keeps feeding and firing even when maintenance is not perfect, which is exactly the environment budget guns often live in. One feature that sets the G3 apart is its restrike capability. In a striker-fired world, that is unusual. If you encounter a hard primer or a light strike, the G3 allows you to pull the trigger again without racking the slide. For experienced shooters, this may be a preference. For new shooters, seniors, or anyone under stress, it can be a meaningful advantage. Not having to immediately manipulate the slide simplifies the response and reduces the chance of user-induced errors. It is a small design choice, but one that reflects a practical mindset rather than a marketing checklist. In the hand, the G3 feels more refined than its price suggests. The grip texture is secure without being abrasive, and the frame shape accommodates a wide range of hand sizes comfortably. Recoil is manageable and predictable, helped by a slide mass that keeps the gun from feeling overly snappy. The trigger has a long take-up, which some shooters criticize, but that same characteristic contributes to safe, consistent operation in a defensive context. Once you learn it, the break is repeat reliable and the reset is easy to track. What truly earns the Taurus G3 its spot at number 10 is performance over time. Thousands of shooters have put high round counts through these pistols using inexpensive 9mm ammunition without experiencing the stoppages that once defined the brand. That consistency is not accidental. It is the result of simplified internals, conservative spring rates, and a willingness to prioritize function over finesse. When something eventually wears, parts are affordable and readily available, keeping long-term ownership costs low. Price seals the deal. The G3 series is commonly found between $250 and $300, sometimes even less. That places it firmly in reach of buyers who want reliability without financial strain. The Taurus G3 does not pretend to be a premium handgun, and it does not need to. It earns its place here by proving that a budget pistol can be dependable, practical, and worthy of trust when it matters most. Down at the base of the list, number 9, is the Ruger Security 9, and this is where the list starts to lean hard into old-school thinking applied to modern problems. Ruger has never been a company that chases trends. Their reputation was built on guns that survive abuse, neglect, and time, and the Security 9 follows that exact philosophy. At first glance, it looks like just another polymer striker pistol, but once you understand how it is built, you realize it plays by slightly different rules. Internally, the Security 9 is not a traditional striker-fire design. It uses a shrouded internal hammer system Ruger calls secure action. That matters for reliability. The hammer stores more energy than most striker systems, which leads to very consistent primer ignition, even with harder primers found in cheaper 9mm ammunition. This is the kind of mechanical choice you make when your priority is making sure the gun fires every time, not shaving ounces off a trigger pull. The trigger itself feels smooth and rolling rather than crisp, and while that will never impress competition shooters, it is predictable and forgiving under stress. Feeding reliability is another strong point. The feed ramp is wide and polished, designed to guide rounds smoothly into the chamber, whether you are running basic ball ammo or defensive hollow points. The slide mass and recoil spring balance keep the cycling controlled, preventing the short stroking issues that sometimes plague lighter budget pistols. In practical use, the Security 9 has earned a reputation for running clean and dirty alike, which is exactly what you want from a gun that might sit loaded for long periods and only see occasional range time. Ergonomically, the Security 9 feels like a working person's pistol. The grip angle is natural, the frame texture is comfortable without being aggressive, and the controls are easy to reach without shifting your grip. One underrated advantage is how easy the slide is to rack compared to many striker guns. That alone makes it a strong option for older shooters or anyone with limited hand strength. The pistol does not fight you during basic operation, and that ease of use translates directly into confidence. The Security 9 earns its place on this list because it offers an alternative for people who are uneasy about fully cocked striker systems, but still want a modern defensive handgun. Ruger's customer support and long-term parts availability add another layer of reassurance. This is not a flashy pistol. It does not rely on hype or aesthetics. It relies on conservative engineering and durability. Price keeps it squarely in budget territory. While the official pricing suggests more, real-world examples commonly sell between $350 and $380. For that money, you are getting a rugged 9mm built by a company known for prioritizing function over form. The Ruger Security 9 is here because it embodies the idea that reliability is not about innovation for its own sake, but about making smart, proven choices and sticking to them. Launching the list with number 8 is the Palmetto State Armory Dagger, and this is where the conversation shifts from traditional budget guns to something that feels almost disruptive. The Dagger exists because a door finally opened. When the patents around the Glock Generation 3 design expired, a lot of companies rushed in with clones. Most of them felt cheap or unfinished. Palmetto State Armory took a different approach. They looked at one of the most proven handgun systems ever created and asked a simple question. What if we kept the reliability, fixed the ergonomics people complain about, and sold it for a price normal shooters could actually afford? At its core, the Dagger is built on a mechanical system that has already survived decades of hard use around the world. Short recoil operation, a simple locking system, a robust extractor, and a fixed ejector that throws brass with authority. None of that is experimental. Reliability is baked into the geometry. This is the same foundation that earned Glock its reputation, and it shows the moment you start shooting the Dagger. It feeds cheap-range 9mm without hesitation, and cycles defensive ammunition just as confidently. It does not feel delicate, it feels like it wants to run. Where the Dagger really separates itself is in how it feels in the hand. Palmetto removed the old finger grooves that many shooters never liked and reshaped the grip to allow a higher, more natural hold. The undercut at the trigger guard helps control recoil and keeps the gun flat during rapid strings. The grip texture is modern and aggressive enough to stay locked in place without feeling like sandpaper. These changes do not just improve comfort. They improve control, and better control reduces user-induced malfunctions under stress. The trigger is familiar to anyone who has spent time with older Glock pistols. It is not refined and it is not light, but it is consistent. Consistency matters more than feel when reliability is the goal. The reset is positive, the brake is predictable, and the system works the same way every time you press the trigger. More importantly, the Dagger lives inside the Glock ecosystem. Magazines, internal parts, sights, and holsters are everywhere. That kind of support is a quiet but critical part of long-term reliability. When something eventually wears, you replace it and keep moving. The Dagger earns its place at number 8 because it offers near-duty grade reliability at a price that still feels unreal. Base models are commonly found around $300 to $350, sometimes less during frequent sales. That puts it well within reach of shooters who want proven mechanics without paying a premium for a name. The Palmetto State Armory Dagger is not trying to reinvent the wheel. It is proving that the wheel was already good, and that reliability does not have to be expensive to be real. Setting the baseline at number 7 is the Beretta APX A1, and this is one of the most misunderstood pistols on the budget market right now. When Beretta designed the original APX, it was not meant to win popularity contests. It was built to compete for a military contract, and that mission shaped every decision behind the gun. The APX A1 is the refined version of that idea, keeping the durability and mechanical strength while smoothing out the rough edges that turn some shooters away the first time around. What you end up with is a modern 9mm that feels far more serious than its current price suggests. The heart of the APX A1 is its steel internal chassis. This is not a marketing feature. It is a structural choice that adds rigidity, consistency, and long-term durability. The serialized fire control unit sits inside the frame as a solid block of steel, absorbing stress and keeping the slide cycling smoothly over thousands of rounds. This design also allows the grip module to be swapped without changing the core of the pistol, which adds long-term value and flexibility. From a reliability standpoint, fewer stressed polymer components means fewer places for wear to turn into problems. On the range, the APX A1 feels planted and controlled. The slide has enough mass to soften recoil, and the captured dual recoil spring system keeps the cycling smooth, even with hotter ammunition. This pistol was designed to run in mud, sand, dust, and extreme temperatures, and that philosophy carries over into everyday use. Cheap practice 9mm feeds cleanly. Defensive loads chamber without hesitation, and ejection is strong and consistent. The extractor is oversized and aggressive, doing exactly what it needs to do without drama. Ergonomics are where the A1 version really improves on the original. The grip texture is still assertive, but more refined. It locks into the hand without feeling abrasive during longer sessions. The grip angle points naturally, and the controls are ambidextrous, making the gun equally usable for left-handed shooters. The slide serrations are deep and functional, easy to grab even with wet hands or gloves. Everything about the interface feels purposeful, not decorative. One of the most surprising aspects of the APX A1 is how modern it is for the money. Optics-ready slides come standard, not as an expensive upgrade, and the overall build quality feels closer to a duty pistol than a budget option. The trigger is serviceable and consistent, not competition-focused, but clean enough to shoot accurately and predictable enough to trust under stress. The reason the Beretta APX A1 lands at number 7 is value. While the official pricing places it higher, real-world sales and rebates have pushed street prices into the $350 range. That means you are getting a military-tested design from one of the oldest firearms manufacturers in the world for well under what it originally cost to develop. The APX A1 is here because it proves that reliability does not disappear just because a gun loses a contract or falls out of fashion. It was built to endure, and it still does. Kicking things off at number 6 takes us into the used market, specifically police trade in Smith & Wesson M&P pistols, and this is where smart buyers quietly win. Law enforcement agencies across the country have relied on the M&P line for years, carrying these guns daily and trusting them as duty tools. As departments transition to newer models or standardize around different calibers, thousands of perfectly serviceable pistols are released back into the market. What you are getting here is not a worn-out relic. You are getting a duty gun that was built to survive professional use and then retired early for administrative reasons. The M&P platform was engineered from the start to compete head-to-head with Glock and police service. At its core is a rigid stainless steel chassis embedded inside the polymer frame. That internal structure reduces flex, keeps the slide tracking consistently, and spreads stress across metal instead of plastic. This is one of the reasons these pistols age so well. Even after years of carry, the internals are usually in excellent condition. Holster wear on the outside is common, but internally these guns are often barely broken in. Reliability is exactly what you would expect from a pistol designed for patrol officers. The feed ramp geometry is generous and polished, the extractor is strong and durable, and the ejection pattern is decisive. These guns were expected to function after riding in cars, being exposed to sweat, dust, rain, and inconsistent maintenance schedules. Cheap training ammo, duty hollow points, and bulk practice loads all cycle without fuss. The trigger on older M&P models is not glamorous, but it is consistent, and consistency under stress is what matters. Many of these trade-ins are chambered in .40 caliber, and that detail actually works in your favor as a buyer. As the civilian market has largely moved back to 9mm, demand for .40 has dropped, pulling prices down with it. The pistols themselves were built around the higher pressure cartridge, which means they are overbuilt for longevity. Slides are thick, springs are robust, and frames are designed to handle abuse. For reliability, that over-engineering is a gift. Ergonomics are another quiet strength. The grip angle feels natural. The interchangeable backstraps allow the gun to fit a wide range of hands, and the controls are straightforward and easy to reach. The slide serrations provide solid traction, and the gun feels balanced despite its duty size. It is not a lightweight carry piece, but it was never meant to be. This is a pistol meant to sit ready and perform when called upon. Price is what locks the M&P trade-in into this list. It is common to find these pistols between $275 and $325, depending on condition and generation. For that money, you are buying a professional-grade handgun with a documented service history. The Smith & Wesson M&P trade-in earns its place at number 6 because it represents one of the best reliability bargains available. It is proof that sometimes the smartest budget choice is a gun that has already proven itself on the job. At the starting line, number 5, is the Canik TP9 Series, and this is where the list reaches a point that surprises a lot of people who still associate budget pistols with compromise. Canik did not enter the market trying to be the cheapest option available. They entered it trying to deliver duty-level performance at a price most shooters could realistically afford. The TP9 line reflects that mindset clearly. These pistols were built in factories meeting NATO standards, tested with hot ammunition, and designed to hold up under serious use rather than casual range time. The reliability of the TP9 starts with conservative mechanical choices. The slide is substantial, the recoil spring system is tuned for higher pressure loads, and the barrel is cold hammer forged for long life. That heavier spring rate can feel stiff out of the box, but it serves a purpose. It ensures consistent cycling with a wide range of 9mm ammunition and prevents the frame from taking unnecessary abuse over time. Once the gun settles in, it runs smoothly and predictably, even when fed inexpensive bulk ammo that other budget pistols sometimes struggle with. One of the defining characteristics of the TP9 series is the trigger. It is often described as the best factory trigger in the budget class, and that reputation is well earned. The take-up is smooth, the break is clean, and the reset is short and tactile. While trigger feel alone does not create reliability, a predictable trigger helps shooters run the gun correctly. Fewer jerky inputs, fewer grip shifts, fewer mistakes under stress. The TP9 makes it easy to shoot well, and that translates into real-world confidence. Feeding and extraction are areas where the TP9 quietly excels. The feed ramp is polished from the factory and shaped to handle a wide variety of bullet profiles. Hollow points, flat points, and basic range ammo all chamber without hesitation. The extractor is robust and consistent, throwing spent cases clear of the gun every time. Ejection is strong and repeatable, which is exactly what you want in a defensive pistol that might not be cleaned as often as it should be. Ergonomically, the TP9 strikes a smart balance. The grip texture is secure without being punishing. The grip angle feels natural, and interchangeable back straps allow the pistol to fit many different hand sizes. Controls are placed logically and are easy to manipulate without shifting your grip. The gun feels planted during recoil, returning to target smoothly shot after shot. This controllability reinforces trust, especially for newer shooters. Value is where the Canik TP9 truly shines. Many models, especially the TP9 SF Elite, are commonly found just under $400. Even better, they often come packaged with extras like spare magazines, a holster, and basic accessories. That matters to budget buyers who want a complete setup without hidden costs. The Canik TP9 earns its number 5 position because it delivers reliability, shootability, and durability in a package that punches far above its price. It is not just good for the money, it is genuinely good, period. The countdown begins at number 4, is the Smith & Wesson SD-9 2.0, and this pistol represents something rare in the budget world, a true correction of past mistakes. For years, the original SD line carried a reputation that was both fair and frustrating. Those guns were reliable to a fault, but they were not pleasant to shoot. Heavy, gritty triggers turned many shooters away, even though the pistols almost never failed mechanically. Smith & Wesson listened, and instead of abandoning the platform, they fixed it. The SD-9 2.0 is the result of that decision. At its core, this pistol is built on a foundation that has already proven itself over decades of real-world use. The slide and barrel are stainless steel, treated to resist corrosion from sweat, humidity, and daily carry. Internally, the design is simple and robust, prioritizing function over refinement. There are no fragile systems here, no experimental geometry, and no parts pushed to their limits. The SD-9 was always about going bang every time, and the 2.0 keeps that identity intact. The biggest change is the trigger, and it transforms how the gun feels without sacrificing reliability. The new flat-face trigger is lighter, smoother, and far more predictable than the original. It is still not a competition trigger, and it does not try to be. Instead, it strikes a balance between safety and shootability. The break is clean enough to shoot accurately, and the reset is easy to manage under stress. That improvement alone makes the pistol far more approachable for everyday shooters. Feeding reliability remains a strong point. The feed ramp is wide and polished, guiding rounds smoothly into the chamber regardless of bullet shape. Cheap range 9mm, bulk practice loads, and standard defensive ammunition all cycle without hesitation. The extractor and ejector work with authority, producing consistent ejection patterns that reflect a well-balanced system. This is a pistol that does not demand perfect maintenance to keep running, which is exactly how many budget guns are actually treated. Ergonomics are straightforward and functional. The grip angle feels natural, and the texture provides a secure hold without being overly aggressive. The frame fits a wide range of hands comfortably, and the controls are simple and intuitive. Nothing about the SD-9 2.0 feels flashy or trendy, and that is part of its appeal. It is a working tool, not a fashion statement. Price is what cements its place at number 4. Real-world pricing often lands between $290 and $320, placing it firmly in budget territory. For that money, you are getting a pistol with a long history of mechanical reliability, now paired with a trigger that no longer feels like a punishment. The Smith & Wesson SD9 2.0 earns its position here because it proves that reliability does not have to be reinvented. Sometimes it just needs to be refined. The journey starts at number 3, is the CZP-10C, and this is where the line between budget and premium starts to blur in a serious way. CZ has never been a company that cuts corners, even when they are trying to compete on price. Their reputation was built on service pistols that ran hard for military and police units long before polymer frames became the norm. When CZ decided to enter the modern, striker-fired market, they did not rush. They studied what worked, what failed, and what shooters actually complained about. The P10C is the result of that patience, and it shows the moment you put rounds through it. From a reliability standpoint, the P10C feels overbuilt for its current price bracket. The slide rides on long steel rails that provide excellent stability during the firing cycle. That extra contact surface keeps the slide tracking straight, which reduces erratic movement and helps the gun stay consistent as it gets dirty. The chamber is fully supported, the feed ramp is smooth and well-shaped, and the extractor is heavy-duty. These are not cost-saving parts. These are durability decisions. The pistol feeds cheap practice 9mm and defensive ammunition with the same confidence, and ejection is strong and predictable. The grip is one of the defining features of the P10C. It locks into the hand in a way that feels intentional rather than aggressive for the sake of style. The grip angle points naturally, encouraging a high, stable hold that keeps recoil under control. That control matters for reliability and real use. When a gun stays flat and returns to target consistently, shooters are less likely to induce malfunctions through poor grip or inconsistent input. The texture is assertive, which some shooters notice during long-range sessions, but it does its job extremely well when the priority is control. The trigger is another area where the P10C quietly outperforms expectations. It is crisp, clean, and consistent, with a clear break and a short positive reset. While trigger feel alone does not make a pistol reliable, a good trigger helps shooters run the gun properly. Less flinch, less anticipation, fewer mistakes. The P10C makes accurate shooting feel natural, which builds confidence quickly. This pistol was built with serious use in mind. It does not feel delicate or tuned for competition only. It feels like a duty gun that happens to shoot extremely well. That impression is reinforced by how it behaves over high round counts. Springs hold up, slide, finish resists wear, and the internals show minimal degradation even after extended use. CZ designed this pistol to live on a range or in a holster without needing constant attention. What makes the P10C especially compelling is its current market position. Due to import cycles and shifting demand, prices have dropped into the $350 to $400 range, sometimes even lower. That places a genuinely premium-feeling 9mm within reach of budget-minded buyers. The CZ-P10C earns its number 3 spot because it delivers reliability, durability, and shootability at a level that feels unfair for the money. It is not just good for the price, it is good by any reasonable standard. Right at the bottom, number 2, is the Glock 19, specifically in its used or police trade-in form, and this is the benchmark everything else on this list is measured against whether people admit it or not. You cannot talk about pistols that simply refuse to quit without talking about Glock. The Glock 19 is not exciting. It is not elegant. It does not win people over with refinement. What it does is run, and it has been doing that longer and more consistently than almost anything else in the modern handgun world. The design philosophy behind the Glock 19 is brutally simple. Fewer parts, fewer failure points, and tolerances that favor function over precision. Dirt has somewhere to go. Carbon buildup does not immediately stop the cycle. Springs are not tuned to the edge. The slide-to-frame fit is intentionally forgiving, which allows the pistol to keep cycling even when conditions are far from ideal. This is why Glock pistols have survived decades of law enforcement use, military service, and civilian carry with such a strong reliability record. In practical use, the Glock 19 feels predictable in the best possible way. Recoil is mild and straight back, the slide cycles with authority, and the pistol returns to target consistently. The trigger is not special, but it is consistent from the first shot to the last. Consistency under stress matters more than refinement. and the Glock 19 delivers that every time. Feed reliability is legendary. Cheap practice 9mm, defensive hollow points, mixed magazines, it all runs. Glock magazines themselves are a major part of this reliability story. They are durable, simple, and extremely forgiving, and they rarely cause problems even after years of use. Buying a Glock 19 used is what brings it into this list. Many of these pistols come from police departments that carried them daily, but fired them relatively little. That means cosmetic wear on the outside, but excellent mechanical condition inside. Glock pistols are famously difficult to wear out, especially in 9mm. Barrels last a long time, internal parts are inexpensive and easy to replace, and almost every gunsmith in the country knows how to service them. From a long-term ownership perspective, this matters more than almost anything else. The aftermarket support for the Glock 19 is unmatched. Holsters, sights, magazines, replacement parts, and upgrades are everywhere. That availability is part of reliability. When something eventually wears, you do not retire the gun. You replace the part and keep going. This ecosystem is one of the reasons Glock continues to dominate serious use despite constant competition. Price is the final piece. While a new Glock 19 often pushes well past the budget category, used or trade-in examples commonly fall between $375 and $400. That places one of the most proven pistols ever made within reach of practical buyers. The Glock 19 earns the number 2 spot because it is the safest bet on the table. It may not impress you, but it will not let you down. And that is exactly why it has earned its reputation. And finally, at number 1 is the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield, specifically the Shield 2.0 and Shield Plus models that can realistically be found within budget. And this pistol earns the top spot because it solves more real-world problems for more people than anything else on this list. When the Shield first appeared, it fundamentally changed how Americans thought about concealed carry. It took a full-size duty gun philosophy and compressed it into a slim, carry-friendly package without sacrificing reliability. Years later, that formula still holds up, and the Shield continues to prove why it became the default recommendation across the country. At its core, the Shield is built on the same architecture as the full-size M&P duty pistols. Inside the polymer frame is a rigid stainless steel chassis that provides structural strength and keeps the slide cycling consistently over long periods of use. This internal backbone is a major reason the Shield has such a strong reliability record. Even though the gun is smaller and lighter than many others on this list, it does not feel fragile or overworked. The system is balanced, conservative, and designed to endure steady use with minimal drama. Feeding reliability is where the Shield truly shines. The feed ramp is steep but carefully polished, specifically engineered to handle defensive hollow points reliably from a short grip and compact slide. Cheap practice 9mm cycles cleanly, and defensive ammunition chambers with confidence. The dual captured recoil spring assembly helps manage slide velocity, reducing battering and extending service life, while also taming recoil for a pistol of this size. The result is a gun that feels controlled rather than chaotic, even during faster strings of fire. Ergonomically, the Shield strikes a rare balance. It is thin enough for deep concealment, yet the grip angle and texture allow most shooters to maintain solid control. The 2.0 texture is aggressive enough to lock the gun into the hand without being painful, and the Shield Plus improves capacity without compromising reliability. The trigger on these later models is a massive improvement over the original Shield, offering a cleaner break and more predictable reset that helps shooters run the gun accurately under stress. What makes the Shield deserving of the number 1 position is practicality. This is a pistol that works for new shooters, experienced carriers, seniors, and professionals alike. It is easy to carry, easy to maintain, and easy to trust. It does not demand special magazines, exotic parts, or constant tuning. It simply does its job. That matters more than capacity charts or spec sheets when you are choosing a defensive handgun on a budget. Price cements its place at the top. Shield 2.0 models are commonly found under $350, and even the higher capacity Shield Plus often appears around the $400 mark during sales. That means one of the most proven concealed carry pistols ever made remains accessible to everyday buyers. The Smith & Wesson M&P Shield earns the #1 spot because it delivers reliability, concealability, and confidence in a package that fits real lives and real budgets. It is not just a good budget gun, it is a genuinely great defensive pistol, period. At the end of the day, reliability does not care about price tags, brand loyalty, or internet arguments. It cares about simple mechanics, good design, and guns that have proven themselves over time. Every pistol on this list earned its place by running when it mattered, not by looking good in ads. Whether you are buying your first defensive handgun, replacing something you no longer trust, or simply looking for the most value your money can buy, these are tools built to work in the real world. If you have experience with any of them, share it in the comments. That kind of knowledge helps everyone. If this breakdown helped you cut through the noise, hit like and subscribe for more honest, long-form analysis. Stay safe, stay informed, and I will see you in the next one.